I'm James Waterhouse, and I'm a Senior Environmental Advisor at Fortescue. Fortescue, the WA Museum, and the Foundation for the WA Museum have partnered for 3 years to better understand the biodiversity of the Fortescue Marsh, and namely the carabid beetle. The field team is made up of Nick and Kip, who are leading a research team by the WA Museum.
I'm Nick Tatarnik, Curator of Entomology at the Western Australian Museum. In biodiversity research, we face a gap both in the knowledge of the biodiversity. About 70% of the species on the planet still remain to be described, but we also face a huge shortfall in the number of people that are trained to actually do this work. So we have a skills shortage as well as a knowledge shortage. Having Kip Will on this project is crucial to our success. He is literally the world expert on carabids, and without him, we couldn't do this. So we get the benefit of him coming and showing us what needs to be done, teaching us the taxonomy, and also he's helping train a PhD student. So at the end of this project, we're going to have a newly minted PhD expert on carabids who can continue the research.
I'm Kip Will. I'm an entomologist and insect systematist at the University of California, Berkeley. So I work on phylogeny, the evolutionary patterns of insects, particularly beetles, and all of Australia, but particularly Western Australia is really a fantastic place to find a lot of understudied and undescribed diversity. So we've put together this program to study some of the prominent beetle groups that are here in the Pilbara region.
The Pilbara is a huge area of economic and cultural and biological importance. So it's really a mecca in these areas. And from a biological perspective, we're here trying to categorize the biodiversity of this area. We face huge knowledge gap in knowing what animals live here. As an entomologist, I want to know what insects live here, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, so I work on a family of beetles that are found globally. It's a huge diversity. It's a big part of the tree of life. It's about 40,000 species worldwide. It's a little more than 3,000 species in Australia. And yet there's probably, every group that we work on, we triple that number. So you could say there's going to be, 9 or 10,000 species if we had a better job of describing them. These are typically referred to as ground beetles. It's a family carabid beetles. They're predators, they're generalist scavengers. They're quite prominent in every habitat here in Australia. The animals and the plants here are adapted to survive and thrive in this kind of conditions where there's episodes of cyclones that come in, and then there'll be spontaneous emergence of activity. So for us, just planning a trip and trying to hit the timing when we can actually find the most diversity is one of the big challenges. And then the big distances. So there's a lot of things that are kind of particular to Western Australia. And then, getting out in the field at night, looking for small insects. I mean, we're good at that. We've been doing it for a long time. Globally, I think people are really interested in conservation. And one of the things we have to be able to do to effectively, conserve the flora and fauna around us, we need to know what's there, right? And so I kind of enter at that foundational level where we discover, describe, and classify insects, particularly beetles that I work on. And then once those things are studied and given a name, then we can provide that information to conservation management so that, when they're looking at an area as a reserve or a park, or maybe there's going to be some kind of land use, they'll have the information available to make, good decisions about how they use that land.
One thing I don't think people understand about museums is that they're active, dynamic collections. You go to a museum and you see the galleries. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If you dive down underneath, you see there's an army of scientists and researchers working on a vast amount of specimens that the public will never see. But these are incredibly important because they help tell us what the landscape used to look like in the past, what animals used to be in certain areas, what their distributions were. A lot of species that we discover in our collections are now extinct. So maintaining these collections and building these collections helps us connect the past to the present, and it also gives us an idea of how things are changing and gives us a way of hopefully preparing for changes that come from development and climate change.